A South Jersey community is coming together in remembrance of a mother of four taken far too soon. Friends and neighbors gathering for a vigil tonight honoring the life of Tomeka Kamwani. Family members say that she was shot to death last week by her ex, who they say turned the gun on himself.
Our Shawnette Wilson with more on this heartbreaking story.
Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that your neighbor, your co-worker, your friend, a woman who spent her days saving lives as a nurse and her nights pouring everything she had into her four kids, was killed inside her own home, the very home she was supposed to feel safest in. And the person who did it? Someone her own family welcomed to birthday parties, holiday dinners, family functions. Someone they thought they knew. That is the story of Tomeka Kamwani. And I need you to stay with me on this one because this case is not just heartbreaking, it is infuriating. If you are new here, first of all, welcome to Shadow Crime. If this is your first time watching and you have not subscribed yet, please do that right now. Hit that like button. Click the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And join this community because we talk about real cases, real victims, and real failures that the mainstream media moves past way too fast. Tomeka deserves better than that. So let's get into it. Tomeka Kamwani was 41 years old. She lived in Swedesboro, New Jersey, a small, quiet town in Gloucester County that most people outside of Jersey have probably never heard of. She was a registered nurse, someone who chose a career built entirely around caring for other people. And when she came home from long shifts at work, she came home to four kids who needed her. Gavin, Aiden, Bryson, and Ava. Those were her whole world. Her sister Lakietcha described her perfectly when she wrote that Tomeka was a kind of mother who poured everything into her children. They were her joy, her purpose. And the reason she showed up every single day with strength and love. Anyone who knew her knew how deeply she adored them. Now here is where I need you to really pay attention. Because Tomeka did not end up in this situation because she was naive. She did not end up here because she ignored the signs. She saw the signs. She acted on them. She did what every expert, every advocate, every domestic violence organization tells women to do. And it still was not enough. Her ex-fiancé had been in her life for a while, long enough that her family considered him one of their own. He came to family events. He sat at the table with them. He smiled in their faces. But behind closed doors, something very different was happening. A pattern of control and possession was building slowly. The kind that does not always look dangerous until it suddenly becomes deadly. And by early 2026, Tomeka had clearly seen enough. She made a decision that took real courage. She tried to get out. She filed for a restraining order. She went through the proper legal channels. She raised her hand and said, "This man is dangerous, and I need protection." What happened next is where this story takes a turn that will make your blood run cold. And that is exactly what we are getting into in the next part.
A South Jersey community is coming together in remembrance of a mother of four taken far too soon. Friends and neighbors gathering for a vigil tonight honoring the life of Tomeka Kamwani. Family members say that she was shot to death last week by her ex, who they say turned the gun on himself.
Our Shawnette Wilson with more on this heartbreaking story from tonight's vigil.
The victim was a nurse and a mother of four. Tonight, the community lit candles in her memory while her family is demanding justice. Balloons released in memory of 41-year-old Tomeka Kamwani. Family members say she was shot to death in an act of domestic violence. Her sister, Lakeisha Brooks, says tonight's turnout is overwhelming and comforting.
I know my sister was a good person, but I just never thought all of this.
She says Tomeka worked as a nurse at different places, including Autumn Lake Memorial Bridge Nursing Home.
Her patients would call her even after the fact, after they left the facility.
Tomeka has four children. They're pictured alongside her in this GoFundMe set up to help with her burial and their care.
Two of her oldest kids were in the house, and neither one of them want to go back in the house now.
The family says the person who killed Tomeka then took his own life. It happened on March 28th inside Tomeka's home here on the 300 block of Broad Street in Swedesboro. Woolwich Township Police have not released details, but a police activity post on the department's Department's Facebook page referencing Swedesboro states, Woolwich Township officers, in coordination with the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office, are currently conducting an active investigation in the 300 block of Broad Street. There is no active or ongoing threat to the public. Meanwhile, we reached out to the prosecutor's office. We are waiting to hear back.
He comes around to the family, to all the family functions, and I wish that she felt comfortable telling me. She immediately filed for a restraining order. She got the restraining order, and then she still wasn't protected.
Family talked about wanting better legislation regarding domestic violence, while others talked about the signs.
If they want to track your every step, that's not love. If they want to know who are all your friends and who you're social and everything, that's not love. That's called control.
Her aunt says she never thought this would happen to her niece, who was always happy, smiling, and respectful.
We just close. We all sort of do things all the time together, try to be at one another, functions and everything. So she's going to be missed.
There's a GoFundMe to support the victims' children. You can find it by going to fox29.com. In Carneys Point, Shawnette Wilson, Fox 29 News.
So Tomeka filed for a restraining order, and she got it about a week before February. She had that legal protection in place. But here's the thing about a restraining order that nobody really wants to say out loud. It is a piece of paper. It tells a dangerous person to stay away, but it cannot physically stop them if they decide they do not care about consequences anymore. And this man had already shown he did not care. Before the ink was even dry on that restraining order, he violated it. Not days later, not weeks later. Before he was even arrested for the first time, he had already broken the terms of that order. Let that sit with you for a second. The order existed. He knew it existed, and he ignored it like it meant nothing. Then in February, things escalated even further. He showed up and allegedly punched Tomeka in the face. A grown man punching the mother of her children in her own space. He was arrested for that, and now you would think, okay, he is in custody. The prosecutors will make sure he stays there until trial. Tomeka has a little breathing room, right? Wrong. They took him to a bond hearing, and at that hearing, the prosecutor stood up and told the judge exactly who this man was. They laid it all out. He had refused to leave Tomeka's home when she asked him to. He had threatened to kill her if she ever contacted the police. And this is the part that I cannot stop thinking about. According to a recording of that hearing obtained by NJ.com, he had actually laughed at her fears. He mocked her. He told her she needed to put more locks on her door. And while he was saying that, he showed her a card he had been using to break into her home. He was not just threatening her. He was taunting her. He wanted her to know that no door, no lock, no restraining order was going to keep him out. The prosecutor heard all of this, presented all of this, and asked the judge to keep him detained ahead of trial, because this man was clearly a threat to Tomeka's life. And the judge said no. The judge allowed him to post bond and walk out of that courtroom with one condition: no contact with Tomeka. One condition. For a man who had already violated a restraining order, broken into her home with a card, punched her in the face, and threatened to kill her if she called the police. One condition. And they let him go. Now I want to ask you something directly. If you were Tomeka sitting at home after that hearing, knowing that man was out, knowing what he had already done and said, how safe would you feel? Because she had done everything right. She went to the courts. She told the truth. She trusted the system to protect her. And the system looked at everything on that table and decided that a bond condition was enough. It was not enough, not even close. Because on the night of March 27th, 2026, while Swedesboro was quiet and most people were asleep, that man made his decision. He forced his way into Tomeka's home on the 300 block of Broad Street. He did not knock. He did not call. He broke in. And according to NJ.com, he shot her 3 times. 2 of her children were inside the house when it happened. 2 of her babies were home. At 3:52 in the morning, Woolwich Township Police arrived at the scene after reports of shooting. When officers got inside, they found Tomeka Kamwani shot to death, and the man who did it was also found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had made sure there would be no trial, no accountability, no chance for Tomeka's children to ever look him in the eye in a courtroom and ask him why. He took that from them too.
Today, dozens of family members and friends gathered at this park in Carneys Point in South Jersey to remember this woman, Tomeka, a mother of 4 who they say will be terribly missed.
It's a shame he had to do that. That's about all I can think about. Why would he want to do that? People break up.
Family members of 41-year-old Tomeka Kamwani tell NBC 10 they are still in disbelief, struggling to understand how the mother of 4 was, according to them, shot and killed by her ex-fiancé, who then took his own life last Friday night.
I would never think what happened to a family, never thought about it. We thought he was a good person, and when this happened, I couldn't believe it. And I still don't want to believe it.
The family says the murder-suicide unfolded inside Tomeka's home in Swedesboro, New Jersey, when 2 of her children were inside the house.
She broke up with him. He didn't take it. He followed her to a friend's house. She immediately filed for a restraining order. She got the restraining order, and then she still wasn't protected. He walked up and down her street so regularly. Neighbors reported him being on their porch watching her house. It's no way that he should have been walking the streets free. None at all.
Her sister, one of many who gathered for a vigil, says she was deeply loved.
It's overwhelming. I've had inboxes on Facebook from complete strangers showing their support. Everybody in the community showing their support for me and her babies. It's just been overwhelming, but a good overwhelming.
Tomeka worked as a nurse, helping others.
Someday I wish upon a star.
And today, the support from the community was felt. Dozens gathering at Carneys Point Recreation Park to honor her life.
Love, dearly, y'all gonna miss her.
Her family now vows to raise awareness about domestic violence as the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office continues its investigation.
Be careful who you talk to. Know the family, maybe the background, how to deal with the family. That's what could be important too, the dynamics with the family.
Shaira Arias, NBC 10 News.
Now I want you to think about what those 2 children experienced that night. They were inside that house. They heard whatever they heard. And when it was all over, their mother was gone. The woman who Lekiecha described as showing up every single day with strength and love for them, gone. Just like that. And according to their aunt, those 2 kids do not even want to go back inside the house anymore. That is not just grief. That is trauma that is going to live in their bodies for the rest of their lives. For children, Gavin, Aiden, Bryson, and Ava now have to grow up and figure out who they are without the one person who poured everything she had into making sure they were okay. And the community felt it. In the days after Tomeka's death, people came together for a vigil in her honor. Her Aunt Barbara Brooks Fault stood up and tried to find the words to describe a loss that honestly does not have words for it. She said they did everything together all the time, and that Tomeka is going to be missing in a way that is hard to explain. Her sister Lekiecha, who was the one who organized the GoFundMe campaign to support the 4 children, broke it down simply and honestly. She said he came around the family. He came to all the functions. And she wished Tomeka had felt comfortable enough to tell her sooner what was really going on. That right there tells you everything about how well this man hid his true nature from the people around him. But here is what I really want to talk about before we close this out. At that vigil, someone stood up in the crowd and said something that needs to be heard far beyond Swedesboro, New Jersey. She said, if someone wants to track your every step, that is not love. If they want to know who all your friends are, that is not love. That is called control. And I think a lot of people watching this right now need to hear that. Because control does not always start with a punch. It starts with questions. It starts with jealousy dressed up as affection. It starts with someone making you feel like you need their permission to live your life. And if you do not catch it early, it can escalate to exactly what happened to Tomeka. Her family is now pushing for stronger domestic violence legislation. They want the law to do better. They want judges to take threats seriously. They want the system to understand that when a prosecutor stands up in a courtroom and says this person is dangerous, that should mean something. Because in Tomeka's case, it did not. And she paid for that gap in the system with her life. As of early April 2026, the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office is still investigating. The suspect has still not been officially named by authorities. And Tomeka's GoFundMe for her 4 children had already raised over $28,000, which tells you that the world sees what was lost here even if the system failed to prevent it. So now I want to leave you with some questions that I genuinely cannot stop thinking about. How many women have to do everything right? Get the restraining order, go to court, tell the truth, trust the system, and still end up like Tomeka before something actually changes? What does it say about a man who would rather destroy a woman than watch her live freely without him? And for those 2 children who were inside that house that night, what does healing even look like for them? How do you explain to a child that their mother did everything she was supposed to do and the system still let her down? I do not have clean answers to any of those questions, and I think that is the point, because cases like Tomeka's are not supposed to be comfortable. They are supposed to make us uncomfortable enough to demand better. If this episode moved you, if it made you feel something, please hit that like button right now. Share this video because Tomeka's story deserves to reach as many people as possible. Subscribe to Shadow Crime and click that bell icon so you never miss a case. We are going to keep telling these stories until the right people are forced to listen. Rest easy, Tomeka. We see you.